Hey guys, I thought I'd try something a bit different today. As you might know, I really love wrestling, professional wrestling. From WWE to Japanese wrestling to small little indie shows, I just love professional wrestling. And one of my favourite things to think about when thinking about wrestling is the rivalries between two people and how they've changed and developed throughout the years. From the first time they interact to the big feud-ending match. So, today, as we're 3 weeks away from Money in the Bank, and my favourite wrestler of all time is a Mr. CM Punk, I thought I'd talk about CM Punk versus John Cena. Now, the reason I want to start with this feud is because this is the feud that got me back into wrestling. Back in 2010, 2011, I was half watching but not really watching. I hadn't really watched in a good 2 years, but then suddenly I saw CM Punk, and for reasons I'll go into in a bit, he just got me back into wrestling, and this feud is probably the main reason why I'm still a fan today. Before the big actual feud that everyone remembers, they had a few little interactions around WrestleMania 27, just before about the Royal Rumble time. CM Punk was still on commentary at the time. He had been out with a long-term injury, so he had been probably the best thing on commentary in a number of years, until about Corey Graves probably, and he was taking a few shots at John Cena. This eventually led to John Cena spilling his Diet Coke.
John, what are you doing? John, my diet soda, what are you doing?
And they would have a feud going into the Royal Rumble. This led to a number of matches before WrestleMania, and every single one, I think people forget, CM Punk won. CM Punk had his number. John Cena could not beat CM Punk no matter what. Yeah, it's through nefarious means, but John Cena could not beat CM Punk. Then they kind of called off, they went in different directions. Cena obviously main evented with The Miz. Punk had a feud with Randy Orton going into WrestleMania 27. And then suddenly Punk started doing these shoot promos and mentioning being a professional wrestler and wanting to change everything, and was talking a lot about his contract being up. And then after he won a match against Rey Mysterio, Catapult Punishment, a couple of weeks later, the famous promo happened.
John Cena, while you lay there, hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be, I want you to listen to me. I want you to digest this, because before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
The pipe bomb was born. I was super impressed. I was half watching at that point. I was watching Raw, but kind of not really truly invested. But then I saw this promo, just like a lot of people did, and suddenly we were hooked, and wrestling was the coolest thing possible. This obviously led into the famous feud leading into Money in the Bank over the WWE title, which John Cena held at this point. CM Punk's contract was coming up, and it was going to expire on the day of the event. And Punk was taking a lot of shots and had this really cool segment with Vince McMahon in the middle of the ring where he shooted on him as well at the time, and just TV was really good at this point. Everyone thought, there's no way Punk's winning, it's never going to happen. But then Money in the Bank 2011 happened, and I can sum it up by saying this is the first WWE 5-star match from Dave Meltzer since 1997. So then the feud continues. Punk goes away, he does some cool things, chastising the new CEO Triple H, eventually building back up to Cena versus Punk. Maybe it's Survivor Series or something cool like that. No. 2 weeks later, Punk comes back. This leads to their match into SummerSlam. It's mainly based around Triple H. He gets involved because Punk fires shots at him the way he did with Vince, but Trips is obviously way better than Vince McMahon and way better than everyone in the world, and just has this little back and forth with him. And he gets involved, becomes a special guest referee at SummerSlam for John Cena vs CM Punk 2. Cena obviously having won the vacant WWE title in the time that Punk was gone, after a good match with Rey Mysterio actually. and they have their match at SummerSlam, and it ends in weird fashion with Cena's foot being on the rope and Cena and Trips having a back and forth, and then Kevin Nash coming out of nowhere, powerbombing CM Punk after he's won, and Alberto Del Rio cashing in his Money in the Bank. Now, you'd think that would be an easy setup to lead to Triple H versus CM Punk, with ADR being his underling, and obviously his best friend Kevin Nash helping him out to take out Punk. But no, for some reason, this leads to CM Punk versus Triple H the next month at the next pay-per-view, with Kevin Nash getting involved again. And then Kevin Nash versus Triple H in a ladder match, of all things. I don't know, it was a bad time for booking at this point. But in the end, CM Punk gets his WWE title back from ADR at Survivor Series 2011 and goes on the glorious 434-day title reign that really is the only reason I was watching wrestling at this point, and CM Punk's the man. During this 434 title reign, at Raw 1000, the 1000th show of Raw, Punk is WWE Champion, and Cena is Mr. Money in the Bank. So at Raw 1000, Cena challenges CM Punk to a match. And it is a good match, it wasn't too bad, but it turns into a bit of a schmoz with Big Show coming out, who was feuding with Cena at the time, and then The Rock coming out to save Cena for some inexplicable reason after The Rock had messed with Punk earlier in the show. Then Punk attacks The Rock and turns heel. And this will lead eventually to their Royal Rumble match, which Punk should have won. Until then, at SummerSlam, Punk has to deal with Cena again, and also the Big Show in a triple threat. Punk is kind of, he is heel, but he's kind of in between with obviously the out-and-out heel Big Show and the white meat babyface John Cena. And Punk gets out of SummerSlam scot-free, but Cena is still on him. And at Night of Champions, they have a match evolved all out of respect, and it's in Boston. And a little moment that I love in this match is that CM Punk comes out in New York Yankees tights, which obviously the Boston crowd did not enjoy. And this was a really, really good match. The finish was a bit off. Cena giving, I think it was a top rope German suplex, and then both their shoulders are down, and it's mapped out as a draw, and Punk leaves with the title. But it was still a really good match, and you could tell these guys had mad chemistry. Then Cena gets a bit injured, so he can't compete at Hell in a Cell. So it becomes Ryback versus Punk in a Hell in a Cell match, which I just thought was a bit too soon for Ryback to be going after the WWE title. I think they did a good job, and if they were going to give him the title, then go for it. But I don't think they should have put him in this position. There might have been someone else. They could have built someone else to face Punk as a backup option, but I don't think it should have been Ryback. But anyway, Ryback gets screwed out of the title by a weird referee. Oh, and I forgot to mention, at this time, CM Punk had joined up with Paul Heyman, who he referenced in the Pipe Bomb promo, and has always been there for CM Punk and a confidant of his. And Heyman was with Brock and needed someone to be with while Brock was away to keep him relevant in terms of TV time. So they were together, and they were just such a great partnership. Just everything they did. They didn't need each other, but them being together just was amazing television. Both their promos and the way they interacted with each other, you could tell they were best friends, and it was really, really cool. So then we move on to Survivor Series 2012. You have Ryback versus Cena versus CM Punk. CM Punk survives again with help from the debuting Shield. This is kind of how it happened in 2012. Punk was the heel champion and was just escaping with his title every opportunity, and Cena was always there as more or less his main rival, but never really truly getting one over on Punk, who he's still yet to beat at this point. And then finally, at Royal Rumble, Punk sadly loses his title to The Rock in a very kind of weirdly booked match. It was a match where it was booked like The Rock was out and out loved by everyone, whereas at that point he was getting a lot of flack from the crowd, and Punk, everyone wanted to see his title reign end, where I think a lot of people didn't. They just wanted it to keep going, and they just wanted good matches. So it was just weirdly booked with Punk getting away scot-free, and like he was most of the year, and then The Rock just restarting the match, just having the authority over Vince and just saying, no, restart this match, and then the match restarts and The Rock wins, and it's like, okay. Also, Cena wins the Royal Rumble, leading to the inevitable Rock versus Cena 2 at WrestleMania 28. But leading up to that, CM Punk wants his title back and he wants in on the match. So on Raw before WrestleMania, they have one final match, CM Punk versus John Cena, to face The Rock at WrestleMania 29. This was just an amazing match. I think it was one of their better matches, outside of obviously Money in the Bank 2011. It's probably their second best match. This is just an out-and-out wrestling match. There's drama, obviously not as much drama as Money in the Bank 2011, but the things these guys do each other, I mean, Cena throws out a Hurricane Rana, Punk gives Cena a pile driver, and it was just an amazing match, and a great way to end the feud. It's just a shame it didn't happen at WrestleMania. It instead happened on a Raw before Mania. So then after that, I don't think Punk and Cena really interacted much after that. I feel like that was the end of their feud. Punk would go on to face Taker at Mania and would lose and come back as a face and feud with Heyman and Brock and Ryback and the Wyatts. And Cena would go on to win the WWE title at WrestleMania, feud with Ryback as well. He would feud with Mark Henry in the famous retirement angle, and eventually lose the title to Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013 in one of the best main event matches of SummerSlam that I've ever seen. So yeah, I guess that's the end of their feud. I hope this is okay. This is a very rough version. Hopefully it will get better next time I do it. But I just wanted to try this out and see how it goes. If you liked it, let me know. If not, I'll do better next time. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.